I knew we'd end up in the garage if we waited long enough. Hello and welcome again to another edition of Our Little Corner. Gordy Little and Calvin Castine for Hometown Cable, and Mary Brown at the Clinton-Essex-Franklin Library System. How are you?
I'm just fine. How are you?
I'm just great. I was looking forward to this day. I was in somewhere, I can't remember, Saranac Lake or somewhere, talking with one of my relatives or somebody else's relative, and there was a picture either in the paper or on television of the bookmobile.
All right.
And this person said to me, "They still have the bookmobile?"
Sure.
I remember when I was a little child.
And it was horse-drawn, right?
Well, not that long ago. But my kids and grandchildren and great-grandchildren have all taken advantage of it. And I remember when it used to park in front of the post office in Morrisonville, and they were telling me, and I said, and it still does.
Yes. Yes.
Isn't that neat? How many years for the bookmobile?
Well, I don't know when the service started, but this is, I don't know, 5th or 6th bookmobile. There used to be 2 of them. They got written up in the New York Times once.
I know.
And we're happy still to continue the service, and I think we're probably looking ahead to our next bookmobile in the next 3 to 5 years. Just put new springs in this one. Books are real heavy, and those springs got pretty flat.
What a wonderful service. We have so much ground to cover today, and so does the bookmobile. Who have we got over here?
Calvin Mitchell.
Calvin, how are you?
Fine, fine. Yeah.
And the 2 Calvins got together just before the camera came on, and that's pretty neat. Well, the only person we lacked was Calvin, what's that guy's name? Coolidge.
Yeah.
Coolidge. But he couldn't make it today. So, Calvin, what do you do for this here organization?
Well, I drive the van to all the libraries and the senior housing and all the prisons in the 3-county area.
And you're also not a bad photographer, from what I understand.
Well, I take a few pictures. They come out once in a while.
When we walked in the front door, and we'll have a chance to show them to all of our viewers later in the program, we saw your work of every one of those. You know, they're amazing. Some of those buildings are incredible, aren't they?
There's some old buildings there. Really some old structures, and a lot of town halls converted into libraries, and it's really interesting. Yeah, a lot of history there.
Oh, a great deal of history. And Penny, we talked with Penny Cowan when we came in, and she said when the pictures were all down on the desk, people would come in and say, "How come you have pictures of all those houses?" Isn't that amazing? Yeah. I've been in several of those libraries because I'm just a library buff, and I love libraries. I particularly love the one up in Shazy, great old stone building.
Yeah, the old stone building next to the old gray manor there. Yeah, that's really historic. Yeah.
But, we do have, Calvin and I, we hope, through the lens of his camera, which he has on his shoulder over there, have shown a lot of the history in the North Country, and I particularly love the buildings. Just so many great old homes and great libraries and municipal buildings. And
dating back into the 18th century there, 1800s. It's really interesting. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what your job is every day.
Well, I pick up and deliver, like I say, books and videos and films, to all the libraries, the senior housing, and I sort it out into. I even have the audio, and this works on a 3-week basis. I go, one county on a Monday and another county on Wednesday, and I range from Rosens Point to Hogansburg to Scroon Lake to Tupper Lake. And so it's, you put a few miles on, 500-600 miles a week.
Do you really? Come on.
Oh, yeah. And all kinds of weather. We try to make it there pretty much. If we don't make it one day, we'll do it the next day. And so the service is there, and the people love it,
I can remember reading on the radio how many times we're sorry, the bookmobile won't be able to make a stop today. Got 28 feet of snow in Scioto.
It goes pretty good though. These things are heavy and they'll go through a lot of snow and ice. And I was in a big storm last year with it there, and they'll go. You can get through, they'll go. I guess the roads are plowed.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been on 4 years on the van, and I covered the bookmobile when the regular driver's off. Yeah, it's really interesting work. I really like it. Going from UPS to here, it's the same delivery stuff. So.
You don't have to be able to lift 70 pounds a day, though.
No, but you get some heavy boxes of books, but it's real interesting. Yeah,
it's got to be kind of a rewarding.
Yeah, you meet a lot of nice
your
people.
Career, yeah.
Yeah, I have them come up to the van and ask, well, you got any books in here I can take or whatever, you know. We should have a small bookmobile here in the van.
You're going to have to carry a very short librarian in the back there, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Hand 'em out the window.
Hand them out the window. So where are you headed out today, Calvin?
Oh, I'm going on the southern run. I start actually in Keysville, and I work my way down the lake, you know, Willsboro, Essex, Wadhams, Westport, Port Henry, Crown Point, Tye, across to Schroon Lake, up the northway to E-Town, back to Keysville and into the public library here.
You think you're going to make it back in time for supper?
Plus, I got the hospital today.
Oh.
We
You better
deliver.
carry a bag lunch
yeah,
today.
yeah. Yeah, well, the roads are good, you know. It'll be good, and it's actually that's the run with the less miles. It's probably 150 today, whereas Mondays I go 250. So it's
250 in one day?
225 to 250, yeah, and one to
You
Hogansburg.
don't
Yeah.
stop and chat too often.
No,
do you?
no, you don't get too much. You know, you can grab a quick sandwich
That's
and
too
go.
bad. I
Sometimes
like to
you
do
eat and
that.
drive. I remember those days too.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich in one hand, huh?
Peanut butter and jam. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, like you said, you've met so many interesting people, and
Oh, yeah.
what a great way. I mean, you've done a few things in your lifetime, Calvin.
Yeah, it's and a lot of kids. You know, I like to see the kids come in asking for books. You know, and this is the main thing. You know, get our younger generation into the educational, into the reading bit. You know, this is the main thing. And if I can deliver books out there that's going to help them, I feel a lot better. You know, I feel that I'm doing my part to help everybody, you know, get educated. You know, so
Everybody's got to do their little bit,
Yeah.
you know, and if
Everybody's
everybody
driving a van.
does, then we'll be just fine.
Yeah,
We've got
yeah.
a lot of that, everybody doing their little bit here in the North Country, and some people do more than a little bit. And so that's why we wanted to start with you, because this is what it's all about.
yeah,
boy.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Right down to the bottom line, right out here in this garage.
It takes all the small people and the small things to make the big thing work, and that's what it is. Yeah.
And if we keep them here too much longer, they're going to have to skip Wadhams today, and then we're all going to be in big trouble.
Now, I'll miss that peanut butter and jam sandwich.
Calvin, thanks so much for
You're
chatting
welcome.
with us. Have a
Nice.
great run today.
And same to you.
We'll
Thank
get
you very
to
much.
talk to you later.
Thank you.
See, what a good way to start. Mary, what are we going to do next?
Well, I think that we, since we're in the garage, we might look at the bookmobile. I'll get the staff. They're both here today. And we can look at the outside. Stan Ransom, my predecessor, told me that the bookmobile is red so we can find it in snowbanks. Occasionally we've had to do that. And we'll take you inside and show you how they work.
What a far cry from the first bookmobile I can remember many, many years ago, huh?
Probably.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, and
yeah.
size and scope and the whole thing, and the fact that it's survived after all of this time and still has a vital part in this North Country is wonderful to me.
I think so too. You know, a lot of library systems have done away with their bookmobiles.
Oh,
It's
yes.
been a national trend and not a good one, I don't think. I just don't know how else you can get library service out into communities that are not going to be able to, support and staff, a physical plant, an actual library. And it's a real service. When you can pull up in front of a senior citizen center and people just have to walk a few feet to get to you, you can pull up in front of a school after school and the kids can come out when they don't have a local public library. It's a real supplement. It's a real enrichment for a community. So
Well, you know,
we're proud to offer the
I
service.
could write a chapter of the gaudy little history book, and it would have to include a number of pages about the bookmobile,
Yeah.
because in my kids going over and bringing books, and it was like Christmas and Easter all wrapped into one,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
fortunately most of our kids have always been readers and have loved to read, and just running over to the bookmobile and bringing new books back every time. And that includes the big people in the family too. So they mention it. It's a part of
Yeah.
their history, like this person I was talking to the other day. Unfortunately, I can't remember precisely who it was, but probably one of my kids or grandchildren. So if it's had that big an impact on my family, hopefully it's done the same for many others.
And that's very apparent. I mean, if we have to cancel a stop, we're real sad about that because the people who are out there miss it and feel the loss. They have to wait a long time for the next stop. And, we've been looking ahead a little bit, too. They're putting bookmobiles out on the road now. There's cybermobiles. They've got
man.
computers in them.
I don't know if
dishes
I'm
on the
ready
top.
for the cybermobiles. We're gonna have little wings that come out from the side.
I think so.
Antennas
Yeah,
that
yeah,
shoot
yeah,
up
yeah.
from
A
the roof.
satellite dish on top that rises up. Sure.
Oh.
Plug it into the phone pole. But if you can furnish an internet connection that way to communities with people who don't have internet access otherwise, I think it has enormous implications for education, for job force readiness, for people's personal pleasure and satisfaction. And it doesn't matter where people live anymore. We can do that anywhere.
Isn't it amazing?
It is.
Isn't it amazing?
It's profoundly amazing.
Just to me, it's amazing to be able to survive, and hopefully all of us will, and most of our friends and family members, to turn that corner into a brand new millennium and to look forward to some of these wonderful new ideas.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the things I like about the internet and the advent of technology in libraries is that it has enriched reading and enriched the reading experience. It's not replacing it. One of the things that always amuses me about computers is that how much paper they generate, how much reading you end up doing. But
Boy, we're aging ourselves here a little bit. But
Well.
yes, we could talk about the philosophy of
yeah,
the whole thing, but when computers first came along, I remember the WAG saying, "Oh, no more books."
yeah,
Now with digital books and so on, no more books.
it's not happening.
Guess what?
Well, people are reading more, people are buying more books are being published, and the thing about it's interesting is that reading as a skill has become more important, not less important. And people who want to do well economically, who want to get good jobs, who want to have personally fulfilled and enriching lives, need to be able to read, need to be able to do it easily and do it with enjoyment. And it's a real pleasure to be part of that.
It's just, I look at it, the digital age as just being an adjunct. I'm one of those, I think everyone knows who's known me over the years, I'm just very curious about many things.
Yes.
And if I want to do research, I used to just bury myself in the library.
Yes.
But just to be able to turn that computer on and grab some information from somewhere,
Yeah.
and I have used the resources of the library system here in the North Country so many times. My good friend Stanley, I used to run him ragged trying to track things down for me, but
Listen, he loved it.
he would humor all my whims, and he became a legend in his own time.
That's right. And he's still doing library research. He volunteers up in the hospital library, and he's, working on the internet there. So
We got to do a
Yeah.
program with Stanley sometime.
No,
Have
you
you
ought to
ever done
do
a
it.
program with Stanley? Well, we'll get him to sing the first hour.
yeah, and there's a guy with a lot of interest and a lot of talents. It'd
Lot
be
of background.
interesting.
We have a lot of common background in Long Island because he spent some time down there. And okay.
Yeah.
So let's go on to Bookmobile and see what we can see.
Okay.
Okay, Mary. You may think you're inside the Clinton-Essex-Franklin Library, but you're actually inside the Bookmobile, the famous Bookmobile. And we've been waiting to come inside here, and they never changed one thing for the cameras today. Well, maybe a little bit. Debbie Crosley, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
I'm absolutely terrific. What's your job here, Deb?
I'm principal library clerk, but I'm called the Bookmobile lady to most people. I'm the librarian on the Bookmobile.
That's terrific. And as we walked up here, I got to tell you Calvin's line. Most of our viewers will appreciate it. He said, I thought the Bookmobile was red because the books are... Mary said it's red so we can find it in the snowbank, so our viewers are going to have to take their chances with the original reason for painting the Bookmobile red. How long you been doing it, Deb?
I've been on the Bookmobile for 15 years, but I've been...
on.
Yes, 15 years, but with the
Only
library...
22.
Yeah, sure. But with the library system for 25 years now.
That's hard to believe.
Yes.
I still think of you as a teenager.
Well, sometimes I feel like a teenager still.
That's wonderful. Who we got over here?
Betsy Finnegan Lemire.
Betsy Finnegan Lemire. People look at you and say, no, she drives that big thing.
All the time.
Do you like it?
I love it.
Obviously you do. Mary says everybody responds to you. You're just such a little tiny lady. How did you get this job, for goodness sake?
Well, I used to drive school bus. And I saw the job in the paper and I said, that's right up my alley. So I applied for it and
She says you're great at it. She says she's been riding with you, and you never hit anything larger than a...
Never hit
We aren't saying it.
Never hit anything.
No.
Oh, no, maybe we shouldn't say that today. Sometimes Calvin and I aren't just the best thing for people discussing this. But so how long you been doing it?
Almost a year.
And you really enjoy it. How far do you go with it?
We go as far south as Olmstedville
Yeah.
and Ticonderoga, and we go as far north as, what's our furthest?
I would say St. Regis Falls, up in Malone area.
Yeah.
All 3 counties.
I suppose there are viewers out there who are just not familiar with the inner workings of the Clinton-Essex-Franklin library system, and that's why we're here to reveal this to people. And guess what? It's always, as much as we know about it, as much as we've supported this system over the years, we always manage to get an education ourselves when we do something like this, and this is kind of neat. Obviously, you like people,
Very much.
and you react. You know, when you see people come in and enjoy books and these stops where these people, the senior citizens and the little kids and other people like myself wouldn't necessarily have access to books if it weren't for you. That's got to please you.
It does. Some towns, this is the highlight of their month, to see us come.
What did I tell you, Mary? Because I know how it is when my kids were small. Deb knows.
Yes.
And they couldn't wait. I mean, this was a big event. What day does the bookmobile? They constantly bugging. What time? How come it's not here? It was due 5 minutes ago. And how long is it going to be? Do we have time to run over there and get our stuff? And our house was always full of books. Books are certainly among our best friends, certainly among my best friends over the years. So that's great. It's nice to be in a rewarding career like this.
Very. I love it.
Where did you drive school bus?
Sable Valley.
Did you really? Where do you live?
I live in Keysville.
So you have a little tour before you get to the bus every day then, huh?
Yeah. It's a good thing I like to drive.
Yeah. Obviously you're very good at it, and we appreciate you having you here.
Thank you.
That's terrific. Deb, I want to know what you did to get ready for us today here.
Actually, I kept on asking my supervisor over and over, are they going to ask any special questions?
Yeah, any hard questions?
And I got no answer. I didn't really do anything special. I just was glad that...
On the shelves.
Yes, I stocked the bookmobile this morning, but we were happy that you were coming today. There are a lot of people that still don't know about the bookmobile. We hear it every day that they never seen the bookmobile before, and we go out 4 days a week.
This is big. This isn't a
Yes.
Tonka toy, you know. This is a big machine.
So many people think that we are here to sell books, and we aren't. We're a public library. We just go on the road. It's a free service. We have all different types of people that come on. We have large print books. We have talking books, books for children, you name it. If it's not on the bookmobile, we can get it for you. We have, right now, I would say 6 to 8 homeschooler families that come on, and they love the bookmobile.
Isn't that great? Well, yeah, that's a whole other ball game, and we're going to be talking about homeschooling in some of our future programs because people choose to do it. Mm-hmm. And the whole concept of education is undergoing a metamorphosis, as is the concept of health care and a lot of other things as we approach this new millennium. So it's true, but books will always have their place. And don't worry about me asking any hard questions. That was a silly thing. You've known me for a long time. What you won't get is hard questions. What I do want to know what your job entails on a daily basis, how you choose what books to bring with you each day, and a little bit about the process.
Actually, as far as choosing the books, that's from experience. The first couple of years I worked on the bookmobile, Al Hutchins was the driver. He retired last year, and thank God he took me under his wing. He knows the patrons, and he would tell me what type of books that the people like. And over the years, I will pick my favorites for my people, and I basically know what the kids like. R.L. Stein's, anything, the senior citizens, mainly romance. I know what kind of audiobooks to pick out. We have to have tons of cookbooks, tons of how-tos, and just special books for special patrons. I actually go out of my way and pick out books for certain patrons so they will have the kind that they want when they come on the bookmobile.
So we're talking here about almost a personalized service.
Oh, yes. Yes. Sometimes when we can't make it to a stop, if it's a senior housing, I may go over and bring books to the ladies because they're devastated. They need their books to read. They're senior citizens, and especially in the winter, they're pretty much homebound. So I'll go over and bring them books and take back the books they had.
And some bigger print for some of the folks that can't see as well.
The large print is very, very popular. As a matter of fact, that's what I read right now.
Oh, no, don't be doing that to me.
I'm not 20 anymore, Gordy.
Oh, no, that's not fair, because if you're not 20, that means I'm not. Never mind. But I do recall my mother was, and father, of course, were voracious readers. And my mother got in her late 80s and began to lose her eyesight. It was devastating to her. Thank goodness she took advantage of everything she could. I still have the glasses that she wore toward the end of her life to read with. I now put them on to get slivers out of my fingers because it's like looking through a 20-power microscope. But she would not give up reading. If she could only see 3 letters at a time, she would labor over that book until she finished it, because that was a tremendous part of her life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have one patron right now, as a matter of fact, Julie picked out talking books for him because he just went through eye surgery, and just the thought of not being able to read. So we got together some talking books for him to get him through until he can read again. And hopefully that will help him.
Yeah. The different media, and we'll discuss that a lot later on now, it's not just books anymore. There are different media. There's tape, there's videotape, there are the original talking books on record. I can remember the first machine my mother got. She was trying to figure out how to put the records on so she could hear the books. And then that evolved into a whole new industry where people pop cassettes into their machines, or CDs into their machines when they commute on a daily basis, and read a book on the way to work and on the way home from work. I still like to open the book.
I do too.
And read it, because it somehow gets into my brain in a different way. And this has to do with imagination. I don't want to get my soapbox. I always bring my soapbox with me, and I promote reading a great deal. But it's the first line of education as far as I'm concerned. And when you open the book, and when you read the book, those words become your words. Those characters become your characters. And you create them with the author's help in your own mind to serve you personally. And that's something that's hard to convince people who don't read on a regular basis, who think, and I would never blast any medium because I love all the media. But, at a certain level, when you sit there and have all the stimuli come into you and spoon-fed through a medium that shows you pictures and gives you sound and everything else, it can't approach what your brain does with those words out of the book, right?
It's true. I can read a book and then have a patron come on and read the same book and not get the same thing out of it.
Oh, sure.
That always amazes me because we just see it differently. That's great. You're using your imagination.
Everybody, and people read in different ways. Some people have their favorite books, sometimes the classics, sometimes completely unknown authors that appeal to them, and they read the same book over and over and over again. I listened to a book discussion on public radio yesterday, and the correspondent was saying he's been reading a certain book for the last 20 years. Every time he reads it and talks about it, he gets a different impression of what the author had. It's like going back and viewing a painting over and over again and enjoying it. I'm not one of those people who reads the same book over. I don't watch the same movie twice. Calvin is a movie fan, and he knows dialogue from movies that are 75 years old. I watch a movie or read a book and go on to the next book. And you know, there are so many books to read and so little time to read them that my pleasure is going after another new book. But some people take the same book and read it over again and
They
enjoy
do.
it and see more.
They do. We have some patrons, they amaze me. They'll take out the same book 3-4 times just because they just love that particular story. But I'm like you, Gordy, once is enough.
Once through and then get to the next book. I mean,
Yes.
we talk about it all the time, and I want to spend a great deal of time during this program and a lot of others that we do promoting reading, because it is such a vital force, and education is power. As I tell many of my clients as a victim's advocate and people I know, I can't imagine what my life would be if I couldn't read a book. And my wife knows it's almost like a fetish with me. If I sit down in a chair and I don't have a book to open, it's like walking around town with no pants on. It's just like something tremendously is missing, and I always have to have a book. So as a result, I always have about 12 books I'm reading. And if woe be unto anybody who loses my place, or if I close the book and forget, because I can't remember the last chapter 2 weeks later when I get to it. But it is a wonderful thing to do, and it's such an enriching experience, and it's so important, as Mary said before, to know how to read, to know how to comprehend what we read. It just moves us to a different level.
The most part that I enjoy is the little kids that come on, and they'll sit right down here. There'll be 3-4 of them sitting across here and just looking through the easies, and they're so excited, and they'll stand up and run to their mother and say, "Mommy, Mommy, can I take this book?" And of course, Mommy's looking at it and saying, "Yes, you can take that book home." But to see kids be that excited about reading, 'cause this is the age of computers and computer games, and it's really nice to see that kids do still like to read.
It's wonderful. You know, I've always all you have to do is open the door for small children and watch them soak up the stuff. And when they get their little books, different kinds of books appeal to little kids as they do to us adults. But it's great because that's where it starts. That's the bottom line.
I'm happy to see that the parents are bringing the small children on and not just placing them in front of a TV.
Yeah, I love it. So you go everywhere the bookmobile goes, every
yes.
time?
And, oh yes, I hardly ever call in sick. I love being on the road. I love the people. We meet all kinds of people, and they're all very, very nice.
I didn't mean to stand in front of you this whole time. You must be quite a team. You enjoy each other's company too, right?
Very much.
That's great. So where are you heading today?
Actually, this is our end day. Friday, we don't go out. This is the day we stock the bookmobile, we clean it. If it needs repairs, it gets repaired on Friday. And we change books on Friday also. Make sure we have a different variety for people.
Well, Deb's one of the people we don't have to worry about what she's going to be when she grows up, because she's
I'm grown up.
She's grown up and grown into this job for all those years, and it must be. I can tell it's personally rewarding and satisfying just by asking you these questions and having you respond about the little kids and the senior citizens.
You feel like the people are part of your family. They come on, they'll tell you. I've seen little babies grown up into teenagers. It makes me feel old, but it's also very rewarding.
To be a part of the whole
Yes.
process for that.
To know their families, and once in a while they even bring their pets on, and that's okay too, as long as they're good.
As long as the pet doesn't stand up and
Yes.
say, "I want to know about St. Bernards."
But we're different from a regular public library because we don't care if the kids are shouting and the people are conversing and telling tales about what's gone on during the week, where you can't do that in a public library, and I think the people really like that.
That's great. But what a great service. And how do people find out? I'm sure, as you said, there are viewers going to see this program and say, "Whoa, it comes to my town." How do they find out what the schedule?
We put the schedule in the Press Republican, I believe, once a month, Julie. They can look for it in there. And our phone number is listed right in the phone book. They can call if they want to know where we stop near them.
That's terrific. And you'll be doing it for a long time to come, we
yes.
hope.
So tell them to come on down. We'll be somewhere near them.
Come on down. Wonderful. Deb, thanks so much for all you've done.
Thank you for coming.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. I'm going to watch you struggling with that great big wheel up there. I don't know how you do it, but you're good at it. Thanks for
Thank you.
allowing us to come in and get into your life a little bit.
No problem. We enjoyed it.
Have a great day. No, it's not a relative of mine, but it's a guy we can all look up to. I understand he wasn't very good in grade school, so there's hope for my kids yet. Huh? Me too. Well, we're inside the library, and we're talking with Julie Weaver. How are you, Julie?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm terrific. Julie would much rather this microphone and camera had never made this turn on the way down through, but we got you, and we're going to corral you here for a few minutes. What do you do here?
I'm the outreach coordinator here at the system, and that encompasses a lot of different things. We basically serve special populations in this department, and that can range from senior citizens to the bookmobile, which you've just seen, to over 2,500 prisoners in state correctional facilities.
That's a whole other aspect that I hadn't got into. How does that work with a prison?
The state correctional program, we receive mandated money from New York State to provide supplemental library services for 9 facilities here, from Clinton Correctional, which is the largest, to the Shock facility down in Mineville, which is one of the smaller facilities, and we send them rotating collections. We provide educational programs for them for their pre-release activities, and we act in a consultant capacity, try to answer their questions about library service. So it's basically a full range of responsibilities, and we all chip in here. If they have questions about computers, for example, the tech services department will help them out. So we work together to help them provide library services to the inmates.
Wow.
And that's
Outreach is a big
rewarding, isn't it?
outreach is a big word.
It sure is, that we try to encompass
Big
everybody.
umbrella.
Yeah.
So it includes a lot of different things, and this is where the core of the activity is, right in here, getting ready for things. As we said, Friday is a day when you're preparing things. Calvin wanted us to mention again, it's important that we do that the bookmobile service is free. As Debbie said, people think we sell books. We stop and people take advantage of this service. And believe me, down through the years, there have been a lot of battles fought to keep the bookmobile, to keep the Clinton-Essex-Franklin Library, and to keep the little public libraries open. And those people who go in and get an occasional book to read out of the library and return it have no concept what a battle it is to keep these things afloat. Sometimes, and Mary, we'll get into this a little bit later on as Mary's doing a lot of nodding over there, we'll get into how hard it is to keep your nose and mouth above water sometimes. And there are a lot of people who work for library systems with tremendous dedication, from the driver of the bookmobile whom we've met to Mary and all the other staff members. But there are an awful lot of people who volunteer time on behalf of libraries, and we'll get into that later. So let's talk a little bit more about outreach and how you rotate the stock for all these little libraries. How many do we have?
We have 30 member libraries and 4 reading centers that we provide collections for.
Yeah.
And we do that on a rotating basis. We'll send them an adult collection of anywhere from 60 to 100 books. And then approximately 4 weeks later, we have them all on a schedule. We'll send them a juvenile collection of the size and makeup that they want. So again, this is a personalized service also. They can specify that they want, 30 mysteries or 20 romances or whatever. And again, sight savers are very popular in these collections. We have a lot of senior residents who prefer large type books, and some not so senior who prefer large type also.
Debbie made that admission already to us on the bookmobile.
Yeah. So we provide that service, and libraries big and small really depend on this to supplement their collections, because it's something new coming in, something they may not have purchased, something a little out of the mainstream, or it's just a good supplemental service.
And besides people not being able to see very far behind the scenes when they go to get the book out of a library, I'm sure many people, until they turn their television on this day, whatever it might be at the time it's viewed, we're recording it on the 19th day of February 1999, as we all pray for more sunshine. We're glad that a major winter storm that was anticipated is not coming our way, not only for the bookmobile drivers, but for all of us who have to transverse the roads on this North Country. But throughout time, people are just, they're not familiar with how things work, and they don't know that the Clinton-Essex-Franklin Library system is a system. It is a network with little threads tying together all these member libraries, and that makes the resource even that much more valuable.
That's certainly true, and I think you'll find a little more about that when you visit the Technical Services Department, because they provide a great loan service. They can get a book from anywhere in the United States for our member libraries and bookmobile patrons, and that's really appreciated by a lot of people.
That's great. Now let's talk about you. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this about 12 years.
Wow.
Yep.
Is this something you dreamed about doing as a very young person? Not that you're older now, but how did you get involved with it? And what were your aspirations as a young person?
It's just always something I wanted to do, and I enjoy reading. I enjoy learning new things, and this job provides a great opportunity to do a lot of different things, and I find that interesting. I mean, I can be dealing with correctional facilities and talking with inmates one day, and then that afternoon I'll be dealing with senior citizens or member librarians. So it's a real gamut of different populations, and that's interesting.
The job is never done, is it?
No, and it's never dull. So
Never done and never dull. But when you go home at night, you say, "Oh my goodness, 3,000, 1,200 things I didn't get done today. I'll
That's
get
right.
into it again tomorrow morning."
it's always waiting for you the next day. And actually, we're standing in front of our new computer system. We just got online with our local area network, and that's really changed the job in this department and other departments a lot. We just finished publishing our first issue of the Trailblazer, which is the system newsletter. It stopped publication about 6 or 7 years ago due to lack of funds, and we're picking that back up again. And that was a real experience to do that on the new word processing programs and scan in things and zip it out on our new laser
Part of your
printer.
responsibility, too?
Well, yes, that and the outreach typist here. We went round and around about. You'll be talking with Barb later, I hope, because she also coordinates a really great service that's also free. It's the Library for the Blind and Visually Handicapped. And people can get applications and get books and tape players free from Albany, and that's really made the difference in a lot of people's lives.
I hope that we've opened a few eyes so far, and we've only just begun, to quote a famous phrase, to get into the inner workings of the Clinton-Essex-Franklin Library. Julie, what else in terms of outreach can you think of that I may not have asked you about?
I'd like to show you if we can get over there. We've cleaned up, especially.
We may be old, but we can still get around a little bit. I'll follow you anywhere.
I'd like to show you these kits because these are really quite interesting, and a lot of people don't know about them. These are available for loan through member libraries, and we do circulate them to nursing homes. And it's a prepackaged program. This one happens to be Remembering Pets, and it's a multi-sensory program designed to stimulate discussion and memories in senior citizens. This kit happens to have a video, The Family Pet, that will show little vignettes. What's this one? It's a calendar.
Kitten capers, I
Yeah,
love it.
just-
Look at this,
And
beautiful.
usually these kits have, I don't know if I picked a good one or not. Let's see. Oh, okay. Just little things to help people remember that's so valuable in keeping senses sharp. It's a pet grooming brush, complete with hair, I see. I don't know what that is. Some sort of fur, I guess, like a leopard fur. But people can touch this, and that may
Stimulate the memories,
them
yeah.
to think of a pet or a cat. I don't know if a cat ever looked like that, but of a pet they had in childhood, maybe. It's a squeaky toy.
Oh,
But there's
what would life with pets be without squeaky toys? I hear mine going in the middle of the night.
there's all different things that helps program planners. Here's a Raining Cats and Dogs. There's songs, pictures, games, and it's just they're really super kits, and we would like to have more people make use of them because again, keeping memory sharp is really important.
Do people come and ask for these, or how do you disseminate them?
We have a little brochure that we printed up, and we leave it at member libraries. Recreational directors at different nursing homes have seen us around town when we display these at display days, like the Seniorama, for example, at the Crate Center. So we try to publicize these and other outreach services as much as we can. It's a bad choice. I'm struggling with this bag.
No, you did very, very well. Happens to be a lot of stuff in that one, but I was looking at some of the titles. Remembering the Depression, Remembering 1924, Remembering Fun and Game, giving me ideas for columns for my newspaper column, because I like to write about nostalgia.
It'll be all done for you. You just have to sit down and...
Grab a kit. Yeah, grab a kit and go. Remembering train rides. Talk about a wealth of memories for senior citizens.
Especially in this area.
This is not necessarily a train generation, although a lot of young people like Calvin are exceedingly interested in railroad history in the North Country. What a tremendous part of what we are today is based on railroad history, for example, in this area, and in many areas, because everybody had to take trains before planes came along.
That's right, and before the bookmobile came along.
Yeah, that too.
To go. I'm trying to think of anything else over here. We do so many different things. I don't know if you've spoken with anybody yet about the audiobook collection,
Not
which
really,
is on
but
the
let's talk about it.
shelves
Can we
there.
get a picture of it over here? Calvin, come on in through here. Talk about it.
Try to avoid my desk. It's a mess.
That's the best kind. I love it. That orange has only been there for about an hour and a half,
Well,
right?
about 3 weeks, actually.
I wanted you to say that.
This is our collection of books on tape, and this medium has become increasingly popular, especially since we have so many commuters throughout the area. They're also popular with seniors and with bookmobile patrons. I think Debbie mentioned that she can't keep them on the shelves. They go out like hotcakes. We've increased the collection to about 500 volumes from different companies. Most of them are the complete story in the unabridged format because we feel that's important, but some books do translate better into abridged, so we do have some of those. Kids like them for school reports. They like to cut corners sometimes. They can just flip the tape in. But it's a really great service, and these are also available through interlibrary loan through member libraries. So I'd like people to know about them. They're great for commuters. My husband uses them. He teaches in Glens Falls once a week, so he's really our best customer. He gets them, and just cruises down there, and I think a lot of commuters really do enjoy them.
It's amazing. I remember when that field, books on tape, was just in its very early stages and designs, and I almost got directly involved with a very good friend of mine, and as fate would have it, it never quite panned out, although I did get to record one entire novel, which was an experience all by itself. And this is books on tape pretty much started out on the West Coast and worked his way across the country and was very successful. If you wanted to order books, you ordered from them. And it's turned into an amazing business where they're available at every 5 and dime store now.
That's true, and they've really caught on with patrons and member libraries. We've started rotating collections of audiobooks in about 10 libraries, and we've gotten some really good responses. People like new titles and different titles, so Personally, I can't stand being read to, so I can't say that I'm a fan, but I think as you were discussing with Debbie, everybody has their own their own medium.
Julie,
You know,
that's
I'd
because
rather-
you're
I'm-
so young. Those of us who are just a little bit older love to be talked to and read to. I've read to lots of people, and I'm such a ham. I love to read to little kids because I love everybody interjects their emotion. I'm talking about public radio again, but I listened to a wonderful poetry discussion a few days ago as I was driving around, and people were calling up and reading their favorite poetry. And a lot of the poetry is poetry I was familiar with, but when you hear somebody else's take on a poem, you say, oh, I never thought of it that way, just the way it was presented. And in my youth, before the days of that magic medium of television, which we're using right now, we were read to and talked to a lot because that's what radios did.
Mm-hmm.
You turned it on and voices gave you all kinds of things and information, so it's a way to receive it. But, the first line, as I said before, when we stood in the bookmobile, is for me to open my book
That's what I...
and read it and let those words have their impact on me. I can't say that over and over enough because it's something that people don't think about. Even people who read don't know how to articulate the effect that books have on their lives. But I've thought about it a lot, and it's like I said, I would not be 1/100th of whoever I am now, and that's open for a great deal of discussion.
Only good things.
But I mean, it's based a great deal on the things that I've read and the things I hope to read.
Yeah, I think that some people are more visual and some people are more, they take in information through hearing. I think it's just a personal preference, but I've always liked curling up with a good book and listening to the radio.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, but books are comforting and educational and all the other adjectives that you might choose to apply, all of those things. But this library system, as you've mentioned, and as everybody else has told us so well, involves a lot of different kinds of media formats, and we're into videotapes too, right?
That's right. And Kathy LeBombard down. This is an excellent segue into somebody else's department.
Get that microphone out of my face.
One thing I want Julie to talk about before we go and meet Kathy, and that is literacy. Julie is our grant writer and writes a lot of grants for us and also assists member libraries with that. And she's done a lot of work in the area of literacy. And I thought you might talk about the website that you developed last year and maybe the Book Nooks program or whatever suits you about that, because literacy is a very important issue for us here in the North Country.
Goodness, and has it been from the very beginning? I mean, how many times have we talked about literacy on the radio and literacy volunteers and people whose lives have been changed by somebody who, as I said earlier, opened that door. Talk about it, Julie. You thought you were getting off the hook so easy.
Speaking of literacy volunteers, we're fortunate to have excellent relationships with our 3 literacy volunteers affiliates in Clinton-Essex-Franklin counties, and especially in a rural region such as ours, the cooperative relationships are important when we're all trying to, deal with the same population that's in need. So we've always tried to reach out not only through our member libraries but through different agencies. And in cooperation with literacy volunteers of Clinton County, we've received funding for a grant called Book Nooks in the Community, and that will allow us to purchase materials in a variety of different formats, books on tape, CD-ROMs for a computer, books and videos for low literate families, so they can visit the library and use these materials together. So we're really excited about that, and we'll be kicking off the program at Plattsburgh Public Library sometime in late spring, probably the end of March or the 1st of April. So we're getting a lot of materials in. That's actually all these boxes on the floor now are books and videos purchased for that grant. So we're going to whip those out onto the shelves, and we hope people will visit the Plattsburgh Public Library Children's Room in April to check them out.
Anybody who writes grants is already standing on a level much higher than me.
Usually I'm standing.
You are. I knew you were a treasure before she said grant writer. But in this day and age, those are the magic words, grant writer.
It's just something I really enjoy. I like talking about different needs, and we certainly have a lot of them that can be filled with grant money. So that's part of the challenge, finding a grant to meet what you want to fund. So that's just part of a job that I especially enjoy.
That's terrific. We won't forget about you, Julie. That's for sure. You know, my job as a victims advocate involves a grant, and if somebody hadn't written that grant, I might still be out there trying to peddle my children's books. Another topic entirely. Julie, thanks so much. You are terrific.
We appreciate your coming to check out our service and letting folks know all the different things that we do in this department.
That's wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you.
If only our viewers knew what the things that happen before we turn that on button on the camera.
Co-workers making us nervous.
Julie Dio, how are you?
Barbara Dio.
Oh, Barbara. Julie. See, I said I remembered Julie Weaver's name all the way through the interview, and then we meet Barbara, and I called you Julie. That's all right. Calvin's familiar with this. That's if I only had a little brain cam on the side of my head to catch his reactions to things that I do, because he knows me all too well. Barbara, tell me where you're from. And
Okay, I'm from Altona, and I've worked here at the library system for about 14 years. I'm a typist in the outreach section. I work with Julie Weaver, and basically one of our main programs here is to the New York State Library for the Blind. It's a federal program, and it's a free service that helps people that are blind to use the books that they were accustomed to reading when they had their eyesight. After people lose their eyesight, they have to make quite a few adjustments in their life. And if they were an avid reader, it's very, very hard for them to make that adjustment. So we have this free service, and this is what the machine looks like. It's completely free, and these cassettes come from Albany. Once they are signed up, and all they need to do to be eligible is be legally blind. Once they are signed up, any books that they would care to read can be obtained through the New York State Library. They just get a catalog from the library system, and it sends them whichever books they want to read. And we have loads of people. We sign up at least 1 or 2 new patrons every month.
come on.
But we have loads of people in the county that are using this service, and they really enjoy it. When their machines break, we have spares here on the shelf that they can come and just exchange it for a new working machine, because most of the people are elderly. And if this is the only thing they have to look forward to, the reading, when it breaks, they really miss it. And to have to send it to Albany is quite an inconvenience for them. So we have plenty of machines to take care of that service for anybody, regardless whether they got the machine initially from us and are registered with us or from another agency. Another service we have for the blind is quite new, and it's this radio. It's a reading radio service.
Wow.
And it was initially started about 8 years ago with a grant from CEF in coordination with the North Country Center for Independence. And this service, again, is completely free if a person is blind and they were used to reading the newspapers and any kind of magazine. This is completely free and very helpful.
What kinds of things they get? The newspaper, magazines.
The
I
newspaper
know.
locally, they read that every day from 4 to 5.
What a wonderful
Republican,
service. Something
and
that
people enjoy that. They also get magazines. It's 24-hour service. They also get magazines. Ladies' Home Journal, Times Union. What are
Isn't
some of the
this
most popular
amazing?
ones?
I've
Family
known some
Circle.
people who have volunteered to read for this service, and they use
Right.
college students and local
Yeah.
people, and I think my friend John Shearer, who worked in a radio
He
station
was
for me.
initially started
Yep.
with that grant. Right now, the North Country Center of Independence has I think his name is Dennis Bayshard, is very active with this. And if anybody's interested, they can contact us or him at the North Country Center of Independence. And we have loads of these, and again, it's free. There's no obligation on anybody's part, and you use it as long as they want, and when they're finished with it, just bring it back, and somebody else can use it.
And it's tuned in only to that
There has
program?
2 different stations. I think it's WCFE that's on the other side, and they are the one that takes the signal and bounces it. The station is actually from New York City, and the only local reading they have, I think, is from 4 to 5 every day from Plattsburgh, and they read the Plattsburgh Press-Republican. So that makes it nice for the people in the area to get some local news and also enjoy their regular monthly magazines.
One more time, another a resource that people may not be familiar with.
Right.
We're learning so much here today, things that we knew and have forgotten because we don't need to avail ourselves personally of that particular resource, but that's pretty neat.
It is. We have quite a few people that enjoy that service too. Again, mainly it's the older people, so, we gain one and sometimes we lose one, So anybody that's interested, just call us. Julie, did you talk about the TTDs?
No, I didn't. That would be great.
Okay.
That's wonderful. I'm sure some of our listeners have heard that acronym, but they may not know what it means, so go right
All right,
ahead.
it's a telecommunication device, and it connects to your telephone so that people who are blind can communicate with the other world. I mean, basically the sighted person. So this connects, I don't know if anybody has seen one. It looks like a little typewriter. It connects to your telephone, and there is an 800 number if the person you're calling, thank you, if the person you're calling doesn't happen to have a TTD, then the 800 number operator will transpose.
Take your time.
Okay, thank you. Will make
That's neat.
the 800 number operator has one at her end, and she will change, the message to a written message, which has a little bit of it's kind of like a typewriter. So when the person responds to my question through the 800 number, the message will be printed out here. And it's very, very helpful for the deaf.
And not only for regular communication, but for emergencies.
Sure.
We did
I
a
believe-
program recently at the new 911 center on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base, and they explained how that process works with them.
Yeah, I believe the hospital has one also, and maybe the fire station. And, if you just go through your 800 number, your 800 operator, you can talk to anybody you want to. And so we have these for loan. If anybody wants one, just call us, and we'll set them up with one of these.
That's great. What else can you think of? I know you
We
type
have the
a-
closed caption devices, which
yeah,
helps
something
for the
else,
older
yes.
televisions. Now I believe it's mandatory that all the new TV sets have closed caption right in their set. But if you have an older set, we have a few of those to loan out, and they again are quite popular with people. We've had a lot of people that used them to learn English as a second language.
Oh, good point. Never
so-
thought of that.
And so we loan quite a few at that point. Now they're probably not on loan quite as much because, like I said, the newer televisions do have to have this as part of on their television sets. So it's another one of our services you can get through the CEF Library.
Terrific. Wonderful services. We've been so many tremendous people. How many years have you been here?
It's about 14. Yeah.
Did they have computers here when you arrived?
They just started with computers. This last year is really the computer. We've really gone mad with computers, but it's fantastic.
Wow.
We've got everything right at our own desktops now.
It's the way to
It
way to
is.
be, huh?
Fantastic.
Going into a new millennium, if you don't know how to turn the computer on.
No, if you don't know how to use a computer, you're lost.
I resisted email for the longest time.
Mhm.
And now it's a very important part of my life.
Yeah.
I have a large family and many wonderful friends, and that's something Mary and I can talk about. I can talk about the philosophy of all these changes and what, how people wrote letters for years and years, and a great part of our American history and world history is contained in the letters that people, you know, big people and little people in terms of their status.
Local history, right.
And then letter writing kind of waned with the advent of the telephone, you know, and other ways of communicating. And now, in a sense, with email, letter writing is coming back, but in an entirely different way. Most email is not very literate, and many of the letters that we recall from history are exceedingly literate. But I don't know why that is, why people are more slovenly in their email. They don't even run the spell check through it most of the time before they send their email. But email is one of those terse ways of communicating. You have a short message, you know, and your best friend may send you, you've told him you just passed your whatever bar exam or whatever, and the response is congratulations, and maybe there'll be an exclamation point. That's really interesting.
Yeah, somehow the etiquette of email allows an abruptness that we would never use with each other, you know, on the telephone or in writing.
This
It's
may not
interesting.
be the forum for discussing the etiquette of computer use entirely, but it's a different ball game. Communication is our
I
important
like
word.
it. I'm better in touch with more people, you know, as you were saying, family and friends,
Absolutely.
as well as at you know, in business, and I like it a lot. To my surprise, I think.
Yeah. When I first learned how to attach myself to that computer and get it turned on and get on the email, I was said to myself, this device will not enslave me. And so I would only check my email once a week.
Oh.
And now, you know, if I don't check the email before supper, there's a big problem,
Yep.
you know. And
Yep.
if my wife is doing dishes somewhere else, you have to print out the special messages, which include things to her, and she'll respond through me, and we just peck away at that
Yep.
thing.
Yep. One of the things that I think is interesting is that a big group of new email users are grandparents,
Oh, yes.
because their grandchildren are. And so it's brought about a lot of computer use among older people, the generations that's supposed to not be interested. And I enjoy that. I think that's pretty neat.
Again and again and again, I use the word communication. And it's been the most important word, I suppose, in my life, next to the word love. But if we find better ways to communicate, exchange those ideas as we do through the very nature of the Clinton-Essex-Franklin library system, then I think we're creating a better world, and I'm all for that.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's nice meeting you. and
Apologize again for calling you Julie.
That's okay. Julie's a nice person.
She
so
is a
call me Julie.
wonderful person.
Right.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay,
You
thank you.
still live in Altona?
Yes, I do.
Of
Wouldn't
course.
live anywhere
Once in
else.
Altona, always.
Right,
and
exactly.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
World is that children's librarians have all the fun. Children's librarians get to play with puppets and read picture books and stuff like that. But I've always thought that children's librarians are doing some of the really important work that we do because of the foundation that children's work develops for books and reading all through kids' adult lives. And so I'm pleased to introduce our children's and youth services consultant, Kathy LeBombard over here, who wears many hats the way we all do, but one of them is this most interesting area of children's work.
I love the lion. And Merlin, if you kiss me, oh no, he did it.
Look, Gordy turned into a frog.
A long time ago. As long as I'm not a toad.
That's right.
Never mind. Oh, these are beautiful. Wait a minute, we got a better one here. I don't know what kind of a creature that. Let me get back here. Is it Kathy?
I'm Kathy, yes.
Kathy, I'm pleased to meet you. This is, talk about a fantastic creature in every sense of the word.
Yeah, we have all of these, but we have probably 30 puppets that we can loan out to the member libraries that they can use with children during story hours. So as you can see, they're a lot of fun to play with, and the kids love to see them.
You got me hooked, and I hope I never grow up. I don't know about you.
Yeah, me too. It's a lot of fun.
Tell me a little bit about how it works.
The libraries can request the puppets. Some of them have story hour kits already put together, so they can just open them up and they have everything they need, finger plays, books to read. Everything's all laid out for them, so they're very easy to use. And then some of them, we just have the puppets. But they're welcome to contact the Interlibrary Loan Department or me directly, and then we'll send them out to them.
I'm sure most of the libraries are aware of it. They don't go to the school. They don't go to schools.
No, they don't at this point. We deal with our member libraries. We have had them used in a school display for the summer reading program, however, at Keysville Elementary School. The summer reading program, I notice you're looking at our poster.
I love that poster.
Thank you.
Celebrate Read New York State Summer Reading
Right.
Program.
1999, that's this summer's theme. Our library system and the North Country Library System put this theme together. We got a grant from the state of New York State to do it. Yep.
Wonderful.
And the artwork is by Nadine Bernard Westcott, who's an illustrator of many children's books, and she lives in Massachusetts. But she did our artwork for us. We had a great time putting it together, and I can't wait to do the program.
Just going to be neat. What will the program consist
It's a party theme. The libraries can pick several different parties. We have a manual that we did for them, and they can choose to celebrate birthdays or the millennium, or they can celebrate families, Thanksgiving. There's a choice of 7 or 8 different holidays plus one chapter that they can come up with their own celebration if they want to. So I think they'll have a lot of fun with that.
What a great idea, and that'll go throughout the entire summer?
Through the summer, yep. And we'll have a web page up that the kids can come to, and there'll be games to play on the web page and a list of books they can read, and the libraries can use that as a resource too. So
We had dinner last night with some very good friends of ours, and the woman is an English teacher in this area. And she and I were comparing notes about when we started to read, who inspired us to read as children. I was so fortunate as a young person to have parents, a father who was a minister and a mother who was had been a speech major in college, and there was always reading and always books, and they were always an essential part of my life. And we were deciding when we started to get into very serious adult books. And I was probably in 4th grade. And I'm sure that I read more books in 5th grade than most of our 13 kids have read in their lifetime, because it was just one of those things. We're talking about a pre-television age. There we go again. Not knocking the medium, but that connection that I found with books was a very delicious, important thing for me. And I've always continued to read. And I said to these people last night that when we go on vacation, I don't go to look at all the glitzy stuff. I go somewhere next to a beach or at a campsite, and our carry-on luggage is very small compared to the size of our bags of books. And the whole family traipsing onto the plane with our bag of books. We don't care if the suitcases are lost, if the wallets are lost, as long as we got our books to read.
right.
So, you know.
Well, I had no hope of becoming anything else but a reader. My mom was a librarian in a little small library down in the Albany area. So
No
from the
kidding.
time I grew up, I was involved with the library and with books. And in fact, she had me do her summer reading programs for her with the children. So I started when I was a teenager doing programming for children. And I've loved working with books and
That was only
children
the year
ever
before
since.
last. Right?
I wish.
So you've had that connection.
Yeah.
So you never really had any other aspirations? Or?
No, not really. It always came back to books in the library. So I got a good start from my mom.
Isn't it amazing? What a tremendous staff you people have amassed. I'm looking at Mary and she's nodding. It's essential, especially in an organization such as this, where you're trying to impart a message.
Well, I'm
And if the people don't believe the message, then they can't preach it. Right?
I'm very lucky because Mary is a former children's person, so she's very supportive of children's services throughout the system. So it's a joy to have her here.
Well, when we were standing on the bookmobile and Debbie was saying, and that's where the little children sit, and that's where we allow them to giggle and chortle and laugh and smile and talk about the books. And I said to myself, under my breath, yeah, because that's what it's all about.
Right.
That's where it starts.
Right. It's a lot of fun to see the kids, and they love the bookmobile, and they love coming into the libraries to the programs, and it's nice to know that I have a part in that I can help the librarians to do the programs, and I can get the books for the bookmobile that the kids enjoy, and it's really nice to know that you have that kind of an impact on a child's life.
Yeah, and it helps to evoke the child in you.
Yes, yeah,
And, may we never,
right.
may we never lose that.
Right, you never have to grow up in this job. It's great.
When my children and great-grandchildren are there, and I'm on right down on the floor playing with the blocks or doing whatever it is,
Right,
Mostly it's them showing me how the toys of today work, But,
right,
but I hope I never lose that. And our childlike curiosity for learning, We become fettered with so many biases as we grow older, and we say, "Oh, I'm too busy for that and too busy for that." But I hope that this love for reading and for books that started in our childhood can peel away all those layers of the things that I just mentioned that we accumulate. Not necessarily good baggage to carry along in this day and age, but to get back to the basics, to read books ourselves and to instill that wonderful desire in the young
Right.
kids.
We started reading to our children when they were infants, before they were even able to sit up.
In the womb now.
Yeah,
This is the accepted behavior.
Yeah.
Playing
Yeah.
classical music and talking to your child.
Right.
And
And our
reading.
grandchildren, we do the same with our grandchildren, and it's wonderful to watch how much they love the stories. And they'll have us read their favorite books over and over and over until they know the words by heart.
Just don't read to Julie, because Julie doesn't like to
Okay.
be lectured. Well, that's where it does start. And even
Yeah.
though the little teeny kids may not respond at the moment, we learned that later in life, those golden moments connect the bonds in ways you can't believe. So you're right, to start
Right.
the earlier the better.
The relationship between the parent and the child is so important too, and reading to the child helps to make that relationship. And I think it's a very important part of growing up.
So in essence, all of these kids out there are your kids.
They are. I think of them that way, anyways. Yep.
Don't ever lose that smile.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for having us here in your little world.
Well, you're welcome, and I have pencils for you from the summer reading program.
Goodness.
These
I'll
are.
never sharpen this pencil. Isn't that
That's part of what we'll have this summer, and I hope the kids will come on the bookmobiles and go to the member libraries and enjoy the summer reading program.
Isn't it wonderful? Celebrate, read.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I love it. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
I'm going to ask Kathy.
Yes, let me get over here so we don't have you talking off microphone.
I'm sorry. I'm going to ask Kathy to change hats. Everybody here does many things. And another thing that Kathy works on is some grant projects that we have for library service to small business. And that's a real different turn from the conversation we've just had about library service to children. But I'd like you to hear a little bit about it from her.
You thought you escaped. Wait a minute. We're going to change our battery and we'll be right back. Doesn't take much to fascinate my small mind, but look at that one. Oh, look at that one. What a neat screensaver.
It's one of many that I have. It's my newest one, but I love cats. I have 4 cats, one of which is Mary's at home. So
This means automatically the productivity in this office will be dropping off drastically
Mary,
because we're going to...
No, a good screensaver is a happy office. We all use them to express ourselves and keep ourselves contented as we
We
work.
certainly do, and that's absolutely important. All right. As Mary said as we were changing our battery, the people who work here wear many hats. And in your case, it's a figurative hat, but it does change abruptly. And after talking about the children's reading programs, we're going into a completely different category. Tell me about it.
Actually, when I started here back in 1982, right out of library school, I was the head of the Job and Education Information Center for the library system, and that was my primary job. And that center is still in existence today. It's at the Saranac Lake Free Library, but it's accessible to all of our member libraries and through the bookmobile. And we've taken a slightly different turn in the last couple of years in that we're working with small businesses. We have formed a partnership with the Adirondack Economic Development Corporation in Saranac Lake and the Small Business Development Center here in Plattsburgh, Chambers of Commerce, to present workshops for small business, people thinking of going into small businesses on their own. This year we're going to be doing 3 workshops specifically on advertising and marketing, and one will be in each county. We're still firming up the topics, but one will be on designing a brochure, one will be on using the internet to market, and one will be how to target the right population for your particular business. But look for them. We'll be advertising them through the Chamber of Commerce, and they'll be happening between April and June of this year in 3 local libraries. So,
That's wonderful. We've been fortunate enough to have a very close relationship with this area Chamber of Commerce here, and especially in their new digs down there, and to talk about the resources for the small business operators and the people who would start a small business, and once again to help create a healthy North Country for people who are interested. It's a big move to go into business.
yes, it is.
Blind, and there are so many different aspects now. It certainly is not like it's not as easy to open a neighborhood grocery store as it was way back when.
Right.
You have to know who your competition is, and you have to know how to market. The word marketing is such an essential part of what we do these days.
Right.
Isn't it?
We did a very basic series last year on starting a business and what paperwork you needed to go through and how to think about what you want to do. And what came out of that series was that people wanted to know more about marketing. So this year we're targeting in on the marketing aspects. We hope it'll be very helpful to small businesses. It is essential up here. My husband's a victim of base closing, and he has started his own small
We're
business.
all victims
Yep.
of base closing. Don't get me started.
So we think it's a good service, and we'd like the people of the North Country to think of us as one of the partners. There's a lot of help out there for them, and they just need to know who the players are, and we'd like to be able to help them find the right agency to help them, and we'd also like them to think of us as a resource. So.
Yeah, and this is we're getting such an education today in learning what's available out there. And I think of you explaining the children's programs and the other people here explaining what resources are available through the Clinton-Essex-Franklin library system. And this is for all those parents and all those kids who say there's nothing ever going on. It's what'd you do today? I don't know. It was boring. How was school? Oh, it was school. And, we've all heard that from our kids on a regular basis. But for people who do have the energy to go out and seek and find and expand their horizons a little bit beyond the end of their nose, there is lots to do and lots of ways to get there.
Yes.
And all the things you've been talking about and everybody else today have underlined all of what I just said.
Right. And our libraries, too, are working more with teens. And I think that if the teens go to their libraries, they'll find they're not just places where people are telling them to be quiet anymore, that they can find a lot of resources there. There's a lot of programs that the libraries are trying to do for teens. So there's something at the library for everyone.
It's very true. And as long as we're standing here and have our lips moving, we might as well put words in there that mean something if we can. But a lot of people get trapped inside their own space and inside their own minds, and those horizons can be expanded by all the resources available here. And as most of my viewers know by now, I work as a victims advocate in the probation department. And if there's one thing I try to impart to my victims is get out and about. Go and take a few courses at the local community college. Take night courses. Read books. Many of these people, especially those young teenagers who are also victims in all the worst ways you can imagine, have let their marks fall off Life doesn't have much meaning, and especially learning in school. But little by little by little, if you can get these people reading books. I have a young victim who is 16 years old who calls me up every time she finishes a book. And this is a young woman I doubt has ever read anything more than 100 pages in her life. And now she is consuming 5 or 6 books a week. It's as if she discovered chocolate and nougat ice cream for the very first time. And do you know how satisfying that is to me? Because I know this woman, the power that this woman has, this young woman, to build that self-esteem back and to go out and make a difference in the world, and then to minister, if you will, to other victims at some other time and say, this is the power. The power is learning.
Right.
So,
Right. Information is powerful.
Terrific. I see. I have to get my 2 cents in worth. I don't have any choice in the matter, but you're such a charming person, and your background allows me to do that, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
But I thank you so much personally for all you do here and all you've done.
Thank you.
That's an amazing career, all the way back to the very beginning with your mom in
Right.
what little town?
Waterford, New York.
Oh.
Same place that Gary Douglas comes from.
Of course. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
No wonder there's a connection.
Right.
That's great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Even though Valentine's Day is long since past, there remains a beating heart.
That's correct.
That's your phrase, Mary.
That's correct.
And holy mackerel, what have you got over here? What is this?
Well, Valentine's Day is a very special day, so I'm pleased to introduce the Beating Heart, which is actually right there. We run an automated library management system, and it's connected to the Plattsburgh Public Library, to the library in Saranac Lake, and to us. We look forward to expanding it to all 34 of our library sites, and it will give people information about all of the books. It'll replace the card catalog with the computer. It's already done that here. It's going to do that this spring in Plattsburgh at the public library next door. And it also lets us check books in, check books out, send overdue notices, those evil things, faster, and do a lot of stuff like that. And it's, in important ways, from our standpoint, an inventory control device. It gives us a lot of information that lets us know what kinds of books we ought to be buying, what kinds of books we ought to be throwing away. And it'll let our libraries have a gateway and have access to all of the wonderful library information that's available now. What I think is really important is that with the advent of digital-based information, we can offer the same research resources that any large library in any big urban area with any big budget can offer. And it levels the playing field. It makes it possible for people who are in very rural, remote areas, as many of our libraries are, to offer their patrons, their customers, the same resources that are available in New York City, the bibliographic capital of the world. That's a very exciting concept, and we're working now to make that a reality in the Adirondacks. So that's what's going on in this corner. We're a node when people in Plattsburgh dial NorthNet for their internet service, those calls come here. NorthNet is a library-based service out of Canton. And the third spaghetti city over there is the library system's own land. So you're in the Reference and Technical Services Department. Our automation specialist, the department head, Elizabeth Rogers, is not here today, and so I'm going to have to stand in a little bit without her expertise.
Yeah, but you can do it, Mary.
No, I can
Just don't ever hit the off switch over here, or somebody's in trouble.
Something terrible will happen. But Elizabeth's over in Canton because we're looking at a new online reference product that she is helping to evaluate. And it's another example of library systems at work, of people combining, in an economic sense, an important part of what we do here is economy of scale. We can do for 34 communities and libraries things that each of them could not do for themselves. I think that was very clearly demonstrated in our conversations with Julie Weaver where small populations, whether they're people with literacy problems, senior citizens, people with physical handicaps, we can support that population across the Adirondacks in a way that would be difficult for individual communities to do on their own. So Elizabeth is out there being part of that network, and I'll try to do my best to talk a little bit about what goes on in the department. So I think if we can just walk around here.
Well, of course we can. I'll simply follow you as we walk, and we can talk as we walk. I can do that. I can rub my tummy and pat my head, or pat my head and rub my tummy at the same time. Okay, let's just move on over in this direction.
Well, there's a lot of equipment in this department, but the thing that's important about this department are the people who work here, and two of them are here today. Marilyn Blanchard is here, and Tracy Labarge is behind that computer over there. And I think we ought to start with Marilyn and ask her to tell us a little bit about what she's doing right now, because it's kind of interesting.
You were just hoping that microphone would never come over here, right?
Yes.
It's here right now. What are you doing?
I'm doing the bookmobile routes, and we have to fill in interlibrary loan request. And what we do, we fill them for the bookmobile patrons that come on the bookmobile, and they go out certain routes. And for next week, we have routes 1, 2, 3, and 4 that go out different places in the country, and I just have to make sure to sign them out and get their stats and put them on the right shelves.
Get them on the right shelves. There's no easy job to do, but a lot of that happens on Fridays, right?
Nope, it happens
All week long?
all week long. Most of the week we have to fill them, and we put them on the shelves for each patron.
That's great. And boy, that's part of almost a personal service to think. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live?
Oh, I live on Wallace Hill in Thunderbird Heights, 20 Twin Circle. And my name is Marilyn Blanchard, and I have 2 children, a son and a daughter named Tammy and Richard.
Wonderful. You got to get the family history in there. Are they around here too?
Oh, yes, my daughter lives here in Plattsburgh. My son lives with myself.
Oh, that's just great. How long have you worked here?
23 years.
Come on, I thought you were going to say, I just started last Tuesday, maybe 23 years?
Yeah, long time.
Oh, that's great. Things have changed a little bit.
Oh, yes, duties plus.
That's wonderful. Well, you're doing a great job here. Thanks so much for letting us come into your life for a minute.
Thank you very much.
See you later. All right. See how easy that is? It doesn't hurt. Well, it doesn't hurt too much anyway. All right. Who we got over here?
I'm Tracy Labarge.
Tracy.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about Tracy Labarge.
Well, I'm a senior library clerk here. What do? We do a little bit of everything. We work in the reference and interlibrary loan department. I originally started in the technical services department. When the head of the technical services department retired, we kind of combined the 2 departments here. So job duties have kind of overlapped one another. And as people have left, we've kind of taken on more job duties. And we do a lot of interlibrary loan. We search the databases, the different databases, to try and get requests that the patrons and member libraries have sent in. We also, in the technical services department, we do book ordering. We do book processing. Right now we're working on statistics, an never-ending job.
One of your favorite topics, I can tell.
No.
All my kids that went to college, what are you taking? Statistics, how is it? You don't wanna know.
Well, after we installed the land, Tracy has used one of the programs on the land and developed statistical record-keeping methods on the computer instead of using the pencil and paper that we used to use. That's a real accomplishment, that she did that. So Tracy's active in the State Association for Library Assistants. She's a real leader among our clerks and in the field, and one of the things that she's starting to do now is to go out into member libraries a little bit and help them with training, things that they need to learn. That comes from all the time that she spent here working with the interlibrary loan system and the automated system. You might talk a little bit about interlibrary loans and the kinds of requests that come in and where we go to get the books. and for people who ask for books?
Well, we get requests from not only the bookmobile patrons and our member libraries, we get them actually from all over the country. We use an OCLC database not only for borrowing but for lending also. We also do a lot of interlibrary loaning through Hobo, which reaches not only our library system but the other ones throughout New York State. We get the books. First thing we do is we search our own system, CEF, and then we do our member libraries. If we can't find it there, we search NORPAC, which is a regional listing of books. If we don't find it there, we go to OCLC, which we use as a last resort because they charge, and we all know what that means. But there are very, very few requests that go unfilled. We do our best to try and fill those requests. It is time-consuming, and I think a lot of patrons don't realize that just because they put in a request for a book, especially the bestsellers, they expect that book to be on the shelf and ready to go out to them. Like I say, with the bestsellers, a lot of times you have 4 or 5 people wanting that same book. We keep the requests filed by date, the date that we receive them, and the books are filled according to that date.
It's interesting about the interlibrary loan system because, you know, we probably, Tracy and Elizabeth Rogers, her department head, between them can probably give us an idea in 10 minutes or so on an international basis where a given book can be found, whether it's next door at the Plattsburgh Public Library or in a library in a university in Southeast Asia. The slow part of the process is getting the book here and getting the book out to the patron. I think one of the things that we're seeing in the Adirondacks is the advent of more and more people who are doing businesses that they can do at home, whether it's design, writing, law. All kinds of people are coming here for the quality of life and then working because they can connect themselves to Wall Street or wherever via computer. Those people have enormous information needs that libraries could meet. And if we're going to do that, I think one of the tasks we face going forward is speeding up the interlibrary loan system, getting this information faster, getting it out to them faster. And it's going to be fun to work on that over the next few years.
Talk about daunting tasks. But that, you know, we all have to get up earlier in the morning to face all this new technology. And
I don't get up earlier in the morning. I'm trying to work to get up later in the morning.
Oh, you are, huh? There is such a thirst. And you have to fulfill those needs for that thirst for knowledge and information, and we're in that age. And I just hope I live long enough to see what the next directions were. It's hard to keep up with technology.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Just the nomenclature. You people have been throwing away little catchphrases and words and things today, which, you know, just astounding to the layman, I'm sure.
Well, we're all standing next to one of the great dinosaurs of library history, and that's the card catalog. And at one time, this catalog, which is now a museum piece for us, we no longer use it, described all of the books that are in the Clinton-Essex-Franklin library system. And now it's just kind of a room divider. Now,
who would have thunk, right?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I worked in a library once that had a book catalog because nobody had invented the card catalog yet. And I bet you at the turn of the century, so the card catalog was invented around the turn of the century, people were giving up their book catalogs and saying, what's this newfangled card catalog? I don't want one of these. I can't use this. It's too complicated. I want my book catalog back. So, you know, we'll just be troglodytes, whatever's going to happen.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, I spend a lot of time in card catalogs and a lot of libraries and a lot of places. They talk about fond memories. It's like us looking at the old rural post offices and the old pigeonholes, and occasionally they exist somewhere as plant holders and room dividers, just like the card catalog system is. But
yeah, Elizabeth says she offers it, you know, to libraries if anybody would like a chunk of a card catalog, but there are no takers.
It's truly amazing. But you know, our worlds are expanding all the time, and you talking about The Clinton-Essex-Franklin library system being a network, it certainly is. And again, I have to say it over and over again, it's an incredible resource for people.
Yeah, and a lot of it's being a resource is realized in this department, because the books come in here and are processed and are made available, and the electronic connections are here that let us know what other people have and give us access to electronic as well as print information. So,
well, it's time to talk about a subject that we haven't discussed yet, but it's such an important one, and that is funding, and how incredibly difficult it is to keep all of these wonderful systems afloat.
yeah.
You want to, because I'm sure our viewers have no idea what goes on behind the scenes just to keep this system afloat, let alone growing as you want it to grow.
Yes. Well, it's very interesting to me as we look at the 34 libraries, and libraries are basically a locally funded service. They're there because their communities want them there, and they pay some money to have them be there. And many of our libraries are operating on very, very small budgets you don't want to compute the per capita. It might be $7,000, it might be $12,000. And you visit the communities and look and see what they can do. With a volunteer fire department, they've probably got a snowplow, and you realize that $7,000 to that $12,000 is an enormous commitment on the part of that community to have that library there. Our job, I think, is to make the difference for that library between the $12,000 and the $100,000 or $500,000 that they could spend to provide a really world-class library service. And I think our job is to help them close that gap, to leverage the community resource into a really fine library product, library service for them. Our funding is almost entirely state funding. We also get stipends from each of the 3 counties that we serve, and they also assist us in financing and purchasing bookmobiles when we have that capital investment. And so our attention from a funding standpoint is turned to the state legislature. If these communities are going to realize the benefits of automation, then money is going to have to come to us and to them from the state level to make it possible for the communities to do the job they need to do, to have the libraries that they should have. We have a legislative program now before the state legislature, which we're calling Books, Bricks, and Bytes. The bricks part is particularly important.
I love it.
Some clever person. We have a graphic design for that. We'll go shoot a picture of it later. But as I've traveled around the 34 libraries, it seems to me that at least half of them face the need for some kind of building program. They're too small. They don't have an electrical service that will support modern electrical needs, including technology needs, whatever. And they need state help to do those additions and reconstructions and modernizations. So that's a particularly important part of that program for our libraries. The Bytes part is important also. We face enormous telecommunications costs to hook these libraries up and connect these communities to the world. And we're not going to be able to do that with our libraries without significant state support and significant support through the E-rate telecommunications discount program. It's kind of financed like 911 and reduces the cost of telephone bills and internet links for schools, libraries, and hospitals. So we're working with our libraries to make all of that a reality. But I feel a little bit like, you get a little bit from this pot and a little bit from that pot and start sticking it together. This is the way we're doing it. Libraries have never enjoyed the kind of funding. We have kind of ambivalent feelings, I think, because education's very important and it's probably never well enough funded. But compared to the way libraries are funded, schools are rich. And we need
That's the point
to.
I wanted you to make.
We need to reflect that same commitment to education in our funding of libraries.
And what kind of lobbying do we have going for us down there?
Well, library trustees and library workers, people in the library community, go to Albany every year. This year it's in March. and visit our legislators and talk with them about it. I don't want to be oblivious to the state's financial situation and the state's financial goals, but it's very important that we make our presence known in Albany and the importance of this known in Albany, and so we work hard to do that.
The North Country legislators have supported the libraries down through the years.
Yes.
In many ways that we could
Yeah.
mention,
Yes.
and it should at least acknowledge that. I don't know how big a chunk you've seen in the governor's new budget as we speak toward the end of February, but is it a happy thought?
Well,
or
in
sad thought?
a period when many things in the governor's budget has been cut, library funding has not been cut. However, he has not increased it. We got the first increase in many, many years last year through the actions of the legislature. And the North Country legislators did support that, and in fact are a supportive and sympathetic audience for us and for our libraries. It's a pleasure to work with them. So we're going to have to, try to climb that hill again, because the governor has chosen not to climb it for us. So we're working on it.
In the meantime, we just make sure that hat we've talked about that floats around this office all the time is one size fits all. So if you walk by a desk and nobody's wearing it, put it on and do the job, right?
Yep, I guess that's what we do. We might like a soft focus, though, don't you think?
Yeah, soft focus. All right, I heard you, Mary. Let's just talk for a minute before we get back to Kathy about the Board of Trustees and how the legislature appoints them and how that works.
Sure. Each county gets to appoint 5 trustees to the board of the Clinton-Essex-Franklin Library System, so we have 15 in toto, and they're appointed by the county legislatures in Franklin and Clinton County and by the Board of Supervisors in Essex County. Our president right now is Ann Choate from Willsboro, and so she presides over the activities of the board, and the board is responsible for our financial situation, for telling me what to do, for doing some planning for the system so that we have a sense of purpose and direction. And I think the most important thing in many ways that a board does is that as lay people who are not involved in the professional operation of the library system, their job is to reflect community opinion, community needs back to us so that we can see what those are and attempt to address them. And their contacts and their roots in communities all over our 3-county service area. I'm told that we serve an area the size of the state of Connecticut, which is a little bit daunting way to think about it. But
Give you a little perspective.
They're from all over, and they know what's going on in their communities, and they know what makes sense in terms of what they know, and that's very, very helpful to us as we attempt to sort out what's the best thing for us to do. So we're lucky to have them.
That's great. I just want to explain that the way that organization works for people before we get back with the lady whom we've talked to numerous times before.
Yes.
Kath, what room are we in now? What's this on?
This is the film and video department of the system. As you can see, we have quite a large collection of videos. We're phasing out the films. We won't be having the films too much longer. We are only going to be keeping films of local interest. We do have some, for example, on the 1980 Olympics and some on the Adirondacks and local people that we will keep, but everything else is being phased out. They're not very heavily used.
I would imagine the films will at some point in time, be committed to videotape anyway.
Yeah. I think most of what we're getting rid of, most of them have already been committed to video, and we have purchased most of those. So
They look familiar to me, and even Calvin is old enough to remember those. And I know how many minutes of film fits into each one of those size cases, and been involved in that process in the past before.
yeah. Well,
That's great.
we have quite a large and very actively used video collection here. Right behind you, there are a section of Spanish titles that are used heavily in the prisons. They're purchased by Julie in the outreach department, and they can be borrowed, and they are, as I say, either Spanish language or Spanish subtitles. So they get a lot of use. And then we have our regular collection, which is a little bit of everything. A lot of features that are nonfiction type, travel logs, how to do it kind of things, history, biographies, and then a lot of feature films as well. The libraries like the feature films a lot. And children's videos. We have a lot of children's videos that are used in programming and also borrowed by families. So we've started a new collections, rotating collections for member libraries from the film department. And each month we have, I think we're up almost to 10 libraries now. We're trying not to grow this too quickly because it's a little overwhelming, but we send out 20 videos each month to those 10 libraries, and then they return them at the end of the month, and we send them 20 more.
You know, that's what happens to good ideas.
Yeah.
Sometimes they
Yeah.
come back to haunt you.
We've been kind of whispering about this for a year or so now, but
Too
we're
late.
getting,
I think we've just
well,
let it out.
I'm about ready to go bigger with it, so it's okay to let
She
it
says
out.
that with a twinkle in her
Yeah,
eye.
it's the kind of thing that, it's a simple idea, so you think, oh, well, this is going to be a snap. But the logistics behind it to make it work are enormous.
Logistics, very important word in a
Right.
place like this, aren't
Right.
they?
Yeah, we
Yes,
have a
they
lot of
are.
logistics.
Yeah, we do. Especially when we have so many hats. It makes
That's true.
it's
Well,
a
we've been talking
challenge.
about hats. I just want people to know how hard everybody works here. You're all grossly underpaid, and we'll get to that in another.
I always thought I liked Gordy,
There has to be a little levity in every conversation. Thanks for coming away from your desk.
Oh, you're
again to
welcome.
explain that.
You're welcome.
What I'd like to do is just walk out here with you, Mary, and take pictures of the pictures on the wall and wrap up our discussion today as we look at them. Would you like to jump over the cord here, and you and I can just get here, and as Calvin pans the pictures, tell us what we have on the wall.
Well,
1,000 words in every one, right?
Yep. It's every one of our libraries and reading centers are pictured here. We did this for our annual meeting last summer. We'd like to put out a little something, and we thought, gosh, this would be fun to do. And we did it, and we liked it a lot. So Penny Cowan, whom you're going to meet next, went and got some frames and put it together, and we decided we'd put them up because the library system's purpose is to make things better, easier, faster, smarter, and cheaper for these people, and so they ought to be on the wall right inside the front door. So that's how they got here.
And Calvin did pretty good at shooting them all, too,
Yes,
didn't
he did. Yes, he did.
That's the other Calvin that we met very early in our program, Calvin 1 and Calvin 2. But they are great, excuse me, they're great pictures and great buildings, as diverse as
Yes.
the people are who
Yes.
patronize every one. Wonderful historic buildings, modern buildings.
I remember
runs
the first
gamut.
time I went to Chateauguay. I'm looking for Chateaugay's picture here.
Right over on the left-hand side.
Oh, okay. And it was at night. They were open in the evening. And I was visiting in the evening, and I couldn't find it. I did find a large neon sign about the bowling alley and cocktails, but I couldn't find the library. Well, it turned out that the library's in the town hall in Chateauguay, and the bowling alley is in the basement. So it's very interesting to me to see how each town has made arrangements that suit it.
I think we've almost come full circle, or at least we're back in the reception area. And I want to turn around a little bit and let her finish that sentence. How she's able, he's going to go down and look at pictures there while I look behind me.
He's a visual kind of guy.
Oh, well, this is a visual kind of medium, and it all doesn't involve around how my jaw is hinged. Sometimes I should just keep quiet and let him scan the pictures, because each one of these has a specific meaning depending on where our viewers might be located across the North Country region. Theoretically, this program is available to all 3 counties, as is the Clinton-Essex-Franklin Library Service.
That's right.
Can I sneak behind here and just stand up for a moment, Penny? How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Penny Gowan is the one that greeted us as we walked in this morning. And I don't know if she's the one that put the scoops in, but she brought me the best cup of coffee I've had all day.
I didn't put the scoops in. I can't take credit for that.
Now, talk about wearing many hats. This looks like a busy little area here. Tell me what you do.
Well, I answer the phone and greet people who come in, and whatever else Mary Brown tells me to do, I do.
Even talk on the microphone, right?
Yes.
So you've been here how long?
5 years. 5 years in
Are you a
December.
North Country native? Or?
I am from Chateauguay. I guess I didn't give her the secret about the library being in the same building as the bowling alley when she went.
Communication fell off on that one. Okay, originally from Chateauguay,
Yes.
born and brought up.
Yes.
Schools down there.
Yes, graduated from Chateauguay Central School.
Then what?
Then moved away.
You moved back.
Now I'm back to Plattsburgh.
You live here in Plattsburgh?
Yeah, I do.
And how long have you worked here?
I worked here 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
That's great. Obviously, you like your work. Doesn't give you much time to dilly-dally, does it?
Oh, no, we
huh?
have a lot to do. With 34 member libraries, there's a lot to do.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for allowing us in today.
Thank you.
Mary, thank you so much for the La Grande Tour.
Well, you're very welcome. Should I tell you that there's one more brief stop?
We're ready. I'm with you. Where are we going?
Well, right over here.
All right. I follow you. We've been, as long as the cord holds out and I don't pull the other end of this microphone out by the roots, and we'll travel down and enter.
We'll meet Debbie Campshore.
Debbie, how are you?
Our principal account clerk, and keeps us on the straight and narrow. Keeps us.
I should bring the microphone over.
Oh, should I start over?
No, we
Okay.
heard you.
All right, but she keeps track of our money. She keeps us in line, and one of the things that I think we've worked hard here to do is to improve the accounting and financial management practices of the system. And Debbie's been the spearhead of that and been a very important part of our automating our office operations as well. So it's a real pleasure to have her here giving us some professional financial management.
That's it. Debbie, I'm just going to sneak over here and you can reach over and talk to me. You don't have to cut me a check by mistake today unless you want to.
I don't make mistakes.
Tell me a little bit about you. Where are you from?
Oh, Plattsburgh.
Been here all your life?
Most of it, yes. Moved away for 11 years and came back because it's so fun here.
It's amazing. How many times have we mentioned that? Move away and come back. Move away and come back. It's like a magnet, this North Country, isn't it?
It is. It definitely is.
So how long have you been here?
Here, this is my first year, actually. I marked my first year this month.
Did you really? All right, we're tracking together with my new job and your great job. Debbie, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. We just jump in for a moment. I can tell that she'd much rather punch those keys than talk on the microphone. Well, let's wrap it up right here, if you will. Mary, again, it's a far more complex operation than I think our audience knew before they began today. Hopefully, we have scratched the surface deep enough so that, number one, the funding continues.
Yep.
And number two, this wonderful resource continues to grow and people take advantage of it. Because
Yes.
if we get enough people talking about it and praising it, how many people have fond memories about the books they've read, the videos they've seen, the programs they've attended that emanated from this very place?
Yes.
We need every one of them as spokesman for the cause.
Yes, that's right. It's just important to remember, read. Read for yourself, read aloud to your child, and enjoy it.
That's wonderful. And don't forget that theme for the summer reading program. Celebrate,
Read.
read. It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary.
Well, thanks for coming. It wasn't the horrible ordeal we predicted, by and large.
Not even close. We loved it. This is the unedited version of the program, except for the time we took to go from room to room and change batteries. What you see is what you get. And I know you're going to enjoy what you get from the Clinton-Essex-Franklin Library System. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.